Jacko, welcome to the Fitness and Lifestyle Podcast, mate. It's a lovely thing to see your face after a long time. But how are you, man?
DK, likewise. Thank you for having me. It's very good to see your face too. It's been way too long. Way too long.
Has been way too long, and obviously today, I'd love to chat about the show that everybody seems to be talking about at the moment, SAS Australia, and also just have a bit of a catch up, man. But firstly, how are you feeling at the moment?
Towards the show, I'm feeling very accomplished. I'm just so happy that for training for so long, I was probably training every single day since January.
Is that when you found out?
I found it in November last year.
Oh yeah.
But that was when I got the call up saying, blah, 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 would you like to do something like this?
Yeah.
And then it wasn't confirmed till about December.
Yeah.
But then it really got real January when everyone was like, okay, this is happening. You're doing this. This is where we're meeting, blah, blah, blah. So I was training religiously since January. I only went out a few times, wasn't really drinking or doing anything. But then when we went to New Zealand in March originally to film it, COVID happened. So we had to come home.
Okay.
And then we were in lockdown, but I was lucky enough to have some weight. So I was training religiously March, April, May, June, July, August, all up until we started in August. So I had 6 months more to train.
That's elite. And so you went over to, where did you do it in August? Where did you film it?
It was in the snowy mountains in Jindabyne, New South Wales.
Yes.
So I drove and took my weights with me because I had to self-isolate for 2 weeks in a little apartment. So I took my weights in the car and my PlayStation and TV and yeah.
Nice, man. And so how long in total obviously we'll go into a bit more detail after, but how long in total were you there for?
On the show?
At the Snowy Mountains, how long were you away for?
I left, I can't tell you when I came back.
Yeah.
But I left July 31st.
Okay. That gives me fuck all. Thanks. No, it's okay. So since you've been back, obviously we can't go into too much detail about that. No. I know that. What I was more so trying to get at is how long has it taken you to recover since you've been back, and how are you feeling since you've been back, and then the amount of load that you put your body and mind through on the show, has it been more difficult to recover from than what you expected?
Well, when I came back, I probably took about 4 or 5 days off doing anything and was just lying in bed, sleeping, eating, watching, didn't do absolutely anything, didn't leave the house at all.
Yeah.
But then I tried lifting a weight, I got on the bench and I couldn't even do 40 kilos. I did my warm up on 20, but then when I got to 40 kilos, I went, oh, and my triceps and arms were shaking. My chest was please stop. So I did 3 or 4 reps and I just went, no way. My body rejected it so much. But then I went back a week later and started with arms, and I was just doing little stuff just to sort of get this stimulation and remind my muscles, don't worry, you're still a little bit strong, blah, blah, blah. But I haven't trained properly since July, probably. Haven't done a proper workout since July. It was very physically demanding because what I'm sort of showing in the show is the 4 to 5 kilometer runs to and from all the tasks. It's not like we just got into the car and then we got out of the car and then we did the challenge. It was, we got out of the car and then we ran 4 or 5 kilometers with our backpacks on with wet boots to what we had to do. And then when we finished that, running back. We did so much running.
Yeah. When you were training in the lead up for it, did they give you an idea of what style of training you should be ready for? Or did you just kind of go, fuck it, I'm going to get strong relatively? Did you do any cardio and stuff, or were you just lifting weights?
Yeah, no, I was doing cardio as well because as preparation as well, I was watching all the UK series. They've done 5 seasons on that already.
Oh, yeah.
And all that, there's so much running. And whenever you're running or walking anywhere, you've always got your Bergen on, which is a 20-kilo backpack.
Yeah.
So I was walking around.
Grab your school bag and chuck a few books in.
That's literally what I did. I grabbed a bag and put around 25, 30 kilos on because I knew it wasn't going to be heavier than 20, but it wasn't going to be lighter than 20. So I tried to make it a little bit heavier just to adapt to it already.
Yeah.
So I was doing that, but when you're actually there's so many more factors that come in. It's not just putting your backpack and running. You're hungry, you're tired, you're cold, you just failed a task, you just passed a task, someone just left. There's a lot of stuff.
We'll touch on that soon, man. So when you found out you were going on the show, initially, did you have to apply or did you get asked? Did someone just reach out?
I got asked. Someone
Okay.
reached out.
So when someone asked and reached out, I'm assuming you had a choice to say yes or no. So for you, what was the reason that you wanted to do it? Like, why did you say yes?
Well, I was with Dad in England when I got the call up in October.
Yep.
And then as soon as we've got off the phone call, I got up on YouTube like SAS highlight reel, and I was watching it with Dad, and he's gone, "No way! There is no way you're jumping out of helicopters. There's no way you're going in this cold water. You hate cold water. What foods you're gonna eat? You don't eat the foods. How you gonna last? You can't run. Blah blah blah." And I'm like, "No, I want to do it. I want to do it." And slowly after him seeing me, just more passion, how much more I really want to do, and how much work I was willing to put in, he was like, "Okay, you can sort of do it."
That's awesome, man. So
Yeah.
you touched on something there, which we've got to talk about, mate. So 6 food groups, whatever the fuck you said. I mean, when I first met you and you told me this, I was in disbelief. I thought about this for about a week. I was like, there is no chance. So I'll touch on a few of the questions that people asked after. But what fucking hell, man? What are the food groups that you do eat? And when you also tell everybody the food groups that you supposedly haven't eat or don't eat, I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck, I had a hard time believing this, but it's incredible. I can't believe it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I have, toast, cereal, eggs, bacon, pizza, pasta, lasagna, burgers, apples. That's probably it. And there'd be like obviously chips and chocolate, but like they're probably the main. That's what I eat every day. Yeah.
And what food? Like, what are some like pretty common foods that you've like never eaten?
Oh, vegetables, steak, sushi, oranges. But on the course, I tried pineapple, tomato soup, rock melon,
Fucking
mandarin.
Open you up to a whole new world, mate. So you reckon
No,
you've never had a steak?
No, but I had mini steaks on the first night of the course.
Or
And they were
thoughts?
actually really
You've been smashing them since you've been back, or what?
I've had one. Brooks, because I live alone, but Brooks moved in with her boyfriend. She cooks a lot. And so she cooked a steak on like the second or third night I got back. And it was actually really good. It
Unreal,
was
mate.
actually really yummy.
Well, you might need
Yeah.
to just open up that menu, mate, and see how you go. Try a few new things. What
Yeah, I'm
even leading into the show, were you trying to like nail your nutrition, or you just kept it to those food groups?
Well, I was keeping it to those food groups because I wanted to try and get as heavy as possible.
Yeah.
Because I knew on the show I was going to lose a lot of weight. Like they said, you'll probably lose around 5 to 10 kilos. So I was trying to put on as much weight as possible so I'm stronger for when I'm carrying the backpack, for when I'm losing weight, like little skinny. Because I didn't want to go on the show, like say a shredded 76, 77, and then and having to carry a 20 kilo backpack.
Shit, yeah.
And then losing 10 kilos, I'd come back like a skeleton. Like I'd
Was
be
that
so not was.
going into the challenge? What was your biggest fear mentally and physically? Like to separate the two. Like physically, what were you scared of the most? Even though like kind of, not knowing exactly what was ahead, and then mentally, what were your doubts or worries?
Physically, I'd probably have to say the amount of running and hiking we were going to be doing, because I know going up against Mitchell Johnson, Honey Badger, like all of these proper athletes who have been doing it their entire life, running and all that stuff, they would be so much more ahead of me in that category. So I have to work more towards that. And I didn't want to always be last. So that was probably what I was most scared of physically. But mentally, probably socializing, like going into an environment where I didn't really know anybody, had to meet them for face value, get to know them, form relationships, do tasks with them. Because I don't know if you know, but I get really awkward in big environments and meeting people.
Yeah.
But after the first day, we got along with them really, really well. And I'm happy with myself that I can all call them now really good friends.
That's awesome, and that was kind of leading into my next question. So, what was the actual? What was it like with the group? Did everyone get along pretty well? Was everybody kind of open to chat and get to know each other, or were people, I don't know, competitive? Were they kind of shy? Like, how was the feel between the group?
Well, there wasn't any competitiveness, because it wasn't if you're first, you're the best, or if you're last, you're the worst. It was all getting done as a group.
Yep.
Because so much teamwork involved. If one person stuffs up, everybody stuffs up. Or if one person does something great, everybody else should strive towards it and do great as well.
Yep.
In that environment as well, it's so hard not to get along or want to get to know everybody, because you're in such a small quarter. You're doing everything
It's
It's
almost
such a
like
game.
I can't imagine. I don't know if this is what it was like, but you know, I went and did a couple of years ago. I went and did a Wim Hof course,
Yeah, how good.
day
Oh,
course. It was awesome. It was awesome. But like at the start of the day, you kind of like got the feel, and you got and even like the instructors and stuff kind of said that like leave your ego at the door. Don't worry about who you are. Don't worry about what you should do. Don't worry about
yeah,
anything else apart from like just this is we're a group now, and nothing mattered. Like nothing mattered at all about who the other people were or what they did or what job they had or whether they're male or female or whatever. So like for you when you're on the show, is that kind of what it was like? Everyone just left their ego at the door. It was like
that's
everyone's the same.
that was the best part.
Yeah,
Was as soon as we got there, we were given a number. We
yeah,
were just a number. We weren't a name. We weren't anything to them. We were just a number. They didn't care what we were, who we were, what we did, followers, money. No, they don't care about that stuff. That's why they give us a number, because then we're all on the same playing level from the day one. Because if number 7 does really well, number 8 does really well, but number 13 does really badly, but number 13 might be more famous or more fitter or something. So there's none of that. You're a number, and that's what they call you the entire time you're on the course. So, and
crazy.
I really like as face value as well. There was no expectation, no anything. It was just number 3. I was number 3.
You're number 3, yeah. So are you in contact with anyone post show? Like, is there any people on that you met that you reckon that you'll probably start like continue to form a relationship with afterwards?
Yeah, all of them. We've all got group chats. We all talk
Cool.
to everybody on the daily. I got really close with a guy called Merrick Watts. I was calling him Dad on the show. He's like a radio TV guy. But in Melbourne, there's only 2 of them. There's only 2 girls
Yeah,
in Melbourne, and we're in lockdown. But the rest
yeah.
are in Sydney, Perth, Gold Coast. But it's cool because when travel does open up, I would feel comfortable flying to one of those states and having dinner with one of them.
Which is probably something you wouldn't have done before, like just open
No
yourself up like
way.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no way.
That's awesome, man. So from what's been shown on TV and stuff so far, like what you can talk about, I guess. What so
Yeah.
far? What on the show? Like what was the most kind of like challenging physically, and then again mentally, what was the most challenging out of those?
So far. Um, Physically, probably I had to fight Shannon Ponton,
Mm-hmm.
Biggest Loser host. He was the
Yep.
PT on that.
Yep.
And we were the last 2 or the second last 2 to fight. And I was like hoping I got Shannon because we were about similar height. And I was like, please pick me with Shannon. Please pick me with Shannon. And then they did. And then when we were gloving up, I looked over to the right, everybody, and they were like, oh no, this isn't good. And then we're about to fight. He just bashes the shit out of me. And I'm like, oh my God. And he was destroying me. And then anyway, when we stopped, the people were saying he's had professional boxing matches before. And I go, oh.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh,
got what
why
you asked for, mate.
exactly. Be careful what you wish for. But that was probably how much like the most physical pain I was in. But I was fine after it. But just being punched in the face and in the body because they tell you not to stop. They just say keep going, keep going, keep going.
Yeah.
So I did that. But then mentally, probably the food because I actually didn't know what I was going to eat. And if I didn't eat, it's not like they were going to say, "Here's an apple."
Yeah.
Here's a burger. Here's your pizza.
Just drop off
It's
the
like,
Maccas
no,
on the way back.
if you don't eat it, you're not eating it.
Yeah.
So but I managed to get through both of them.
A client that I was talking to, a client that I had this morning, had a question which I kind of like, and you know, like when in a normal environment, when you're stressed and you got anxiety or you're heightened and your cortisol levels are up and stuff, you're in fight or flight. Like you don't think about anything other than you narrow your focus into exactly what you're worried about. You forget where you are, you forget who you're with, you forget, you know, a lot of people act out of character because they completely just focus on exactly what they're thinking about. So knowing that it was a TV show, when you're doing all these things, you just kind of lose that focus of the fact that there's cameras on you and that like it just kind of goes and you just focus on the task at hand. You almost forget about the fact that it's being filmed. Or you thinking about that?
From the first minute of when we were still in our civilian clothes and they put the bag off our head and we were looking at the helicopter about to jump out of it, as soon as that happened, no one on the entire team thought this is a TV show. No one was going on there for the TV show experience because there was no cast to production interaction at all. The only interaction we had with someone producing the show was the people changing our microphones every couple of hours, and we weren't even allowed to speak to them. Yep. So there was no communication to that. And there was also no cameras as well, like in our face at the campsite. It was all fixed cameras. So you're not thinking about, oh, should I say this? Should I say that? Because
I think that's what that's what a lot of people would like about it. I mean, these days reality TV is pretty saturated, but it is all, let's be honest, a lot of it is kind of like, not fully, but a lot of it gets scripted. A lot of it is, it's brought on, it's drama based. It's all like perception of how it's edited and stuff like that. Whereas this way around, it's like, it is what it is. Like there is, like you said, there's no communication between people. There's no like, oh, we're going to try and make sure that Jacko wins or anything like that. It's like, if he fucked up on the first, like if he's the first one out, he's the first one out. Who cares like how much people like him?
Exactly. And that's exactly what you saw in the first episode. Like 2 girls broke, and 3 girls on the last 2 episodes, like Chappelle, Roxy, and Arabella, they couldn't last anymore, and they VW'd. And it just shows there was no one saying, no, Chappelle, stay on the show, because if you're on the show, get more views, or no, Roxy, we paid you lots of money, you have to stay. There was none of that. If you're off the show, you're off the show. Mm-hmm. And that's why it was so up to you. And that's why I'm excited for everybody else to see, because everyone does so well. Like they all do so good. And it's not a TV show at all. Like I got asked the question, how's it going to go against MasterChef and all these other TV shows? But
it's so different.
People have already said they've never watched any TV shows, but they're going to watch this. After the first episode, they want to watch the entire rest of the series, because it's so real and authentic.
Yeah.
You can't fake it. You can't. Yeah. It was really, really good.
That's awesome, man. And since you've been back, like since it started airing, what was it this week? Started this week? Started airing? Yeah. No. What's the response been so far? Like, have been getting good response? Is it kind of what you expected?
Yeah, the first episode, I wasn't in it much, but people were saying so cool, because obviously, even if they don't show me in the first episode, I still had to do what they did.
Yeah.
I still had to do it all.
Do that shit,
Yeah, so they're all like, it's so cool to get out of your comfort zone, blah, blah, blah. And then on the second episode, when I tried the soup, they're like, oh my God, I've known you for 10 years and you've never tried anything new, and now you're trying soup on national television. Like, so proud of you, well done. And I'm being called the response has been good, but the response has been so good, because and especially during lockdown, no one's had anything to watch. Everyone's watching Netflix, and this is that little bit of excitement and entertainment for people's lives. It's been cool to be a part of something that's going to be so big. And they've just confirmed a season 2, and only after 2 episodes. So that's the response from Australia has been awesome. Like over 1 million people have tuned in both nights, which is awesome.
That's awesome, man. And what was like outside of, I don't know, you said before running, but like, I want to know, like outside of running, was there anything was in your mind apart from food? Okay, apart from food, socializing and running, we'll count those out. Was there anything you kind of just going like, fuck, if we have to do this, then, because you said you'd watched so many of these episodes and you kind of had an idea of what goes on. Like, was there anything else that you kind of thought to yourself, shit, this will be full on?
The cold water, the amount of just waking up every single day, knowing you're going to be in 2-3 degrees cold water. Then you have to get out of that kit into your dry kit. Then you have to carry that kit, and then you have to go back to the accommodation and hang it up on a fireplace, make sure it gets warm. And then if you don't warm up your clothes, you're going to be doing the next task cold, and just constantly being cold. That was probably it for me, because I did some Wim Hof breathing methods and stuff like that leading up to the show, so I could adapt to cold water. But when someone's yelling at you, like,
you got a lot of
just blasting at you, words saying, do this, do that, get in the cold water, jump off this helicopter, all that stuff. It was so intense, because you can't go, wait, hang on. Let me do my breathing methods. Like, you don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Go. So probably the constantly being cold and the cold water stuff, because I'm fine with heights. I'm fine with being claustrophobia. Like, I'm good
sleep
with that.
Wise, what about sleep? Like, because usually I'm assuming you'd get a decent amount of sleep. You were talking to me before about your daily timetable at the moment, and it seems pretty. Well, how was that with sleep?
There's not much happening in my day-to-day now, but on the show, I don't think I probably slept the first 3 days, because I probably slept maybe 2 or 3 hours in total, like proper sleep, because the lights went out at 10 and they turned on at 6. But when you go to sleep, they're going to come in and wake you up. they're going to come in and say parade square in 5 minutes. And what you see in what the episode you just saw is we were only asleep for like an hour or 2 hours before they came in and saying, get out, like parade square in 5 minutes. So just that constant not being able to go fully asleep because you know you're just on edge and it's just so high alert. Your brain's so thinking, oh, I'm going to be up soon, I'm going to be up soon. So you can't go to sleep. But after running 10, 15 kilometers, doing all this cold water stuff, being punched in the face, murder ball, rugby, you want to sleep. You're like your body is so physically exhausted.
Craving sleep, yeah.
So then they deprive you and they don't feed you. Like we were getting 300-400 calories a day, burning so, like they just deprive you of everything. But that's why it was so good. They broke all the barriers to start up from zero, build our way up.
Do you feel like from that experience you've leveled up a fair bit in terms of mental and physical capabilities, in terms of like what you now realize? I guess the question there is, I'll reword it. Do you feel like you've got a better understanding of how much more you're actually capable of compared to what you thought you were before?
Oh yeah, there was so many moments on the course where I just proved myself wrong, and going in with there having like I always had like no expectations and you'll never be disappointed.
Yeah.
Say my goal was, last the whole course, but I did not get upset, or if it was one day and I got to 2 days, I'd be so happy. So just sort of having no expectations, but there was so many moments where like the cold water I was saying before, which I wasn't comfortable with doing, I did it all. Jumping out of the helicopters, if you're afraid of heights, people did it. There was just so many moments where you got through it. So when you get back to the accommodation, there was so much sense of accomplishment.
Shit, yeah.
And the DS as well, when they see you struggling and you pass, they don't ignore it. They go, well done, like, good job.
Yeah.
And that also a sense of adrenaline, like if he believes in me, I can do it as well.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Well, mate, before we wrap it up, I've got a couple of, I put up a story on Instagram yesterday to get people to send through some questions, and I actually haven't had a look through them yet, but I'm going to choose a few out of here now. We've kind of already touched on it, but what was the number one lesson you took away from the experience? First one.
The number one lesson, probably my time management. Like what we had to do in 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I would be doing back home in 2-3 hours.
Yep.
So they were asleep and then they say parade square in 5 minutes and we have to get out of our beds, pack our beds back, fill up our water bottles, get into our dry kit. Like all of that we had to do in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I brought back here because you can go on your phone for half an hour and it feels like 1 minute. But if you just drop your phone, what you can achieve in 1 hour at your house or what in your everyday life, if you prioritize your time correctly, you achieve so much more. Because we do have so much time, especially in lockdown.
100%. You mentioned it briefly a bit earlier, but again, I just want to touch on it because I think it's crazy. What was the difference in weight from start to end of show?
I originally went in 85, but then I had to do self-isolation for 2 weeks in Jindabyne. And I probably got to like 83, 84. I didn't really lose much because I was still eating and training.
Yeah.
But I came back around 76. So I lost around probably 8 to 9 kilos. And I was just like my traps and my arms I just felt like jelly. Everything was jelly.
That's mental, bro. That's a lot of weight in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah.
And you put a bit back on now?
Yeah, I've put a bit back on now. But it's just when you're on the course, there's no sleep, no food.
Energy in, energy out. Yeah. Stress, everything. Yeah.
All of it. But it's cool because you can look at yourself in the mirror. Like when I got back to and was back home and looking in the mirror, my body was a representation of how hard I went on the course. Like if I came back and I was big and strong, I knew I didn't use as much energy as I should have.
Yeah. You want to come back with an empty tank. Yeah.
Yeah. I was so depleted and no disappointment from anything on the course. I was just so happy.
Yeah.
And it was just it was just awesome.
Fantastic, mate. And then the last one here, before we leave to the rest of the day, is how did you manage to control your mind in such an uncontrolled and unconventional environment? Were you actively doing things like between tasks or even while you're running and just trying to keep calm, to not let like that negativity or self-doubt and stuff kind of take over, or were you just kind of just going with the flow?
Not really, because I've watched the show heaps of times. I sort of knew what tasks we would be doing, but obviously it's not going to be in the same order. So when you finish a task, if you try and think, okay, so the next task we're going to be running 20 kilometers and then going in this boat and picking someone up or whatever we're doing. You can't think like that, because if it doesn't happen, then you're like, well, shit, what are we going to be doing then? So you just have to take each blow after blow, just step by step. Just don't get the number one task or thing I could tell someone if they do the next season, or some advice would be, don't get overwhelmed. Just go so slow and just do it step by step. Just go one after another. Don't think, okay, if I do this, then what's it going to be over here? Just step by step. Because if you overthinking would be the probably thing in there. If you're overthinking so much, like, oh, did I say the wrong thing, or is that person not liking me because I didn't, or I failed this task, or I wonder what the DS think about me. Just go in there for yourself, and also to test yourself physically and mentally, and just step by step.
Fuck yeah, man. I love that. Thanks, Jacko. Appreciate you coming on the show today, man. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the series, and looking forward to catching up, man. We'll have to get a few sessions in and lift some weights again. Get some muscle back on you.
I need my muscles back. So if you can just give me some of your muscles and put it onto me, or give me some exercises to do.
I haven't been able to find one either, so we can see we both go and search for them if we need. Guys, thanks so much for tuning into today's episode. If you've enjoyed the show, which I'm sure you have, post a picture on your Instagram story for me. Tag myself, tag Jacko, and thanks again, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thank you.